Welcome to the film analysis, today with Risky Business by Paul Brickman. Not only did it make Tom Cruise famous, but it established neoliberalism in cinema at the same time as neoliberalism took over in the real world. Reflecting on neoliberalism and cinema, 1987 classic Wall Street by Oliver Stone comes to mind. Its character, Gordon Gecko, played by Michael Douglas, states greed is good. Gordon Gecko became a role model for many people, although designed to be critical of capitalism. Wall Street fascinates and seduces by its images, leading the director's original message astray. However, neoliberalism had already been introduced to cinema 4 years earlier in 1983, with Risky Business. Not only is it a coming-of-age film for the young Joel Goodsen, played by Tom Cruise, but also for neoliberalism itself. The story is almost unbelievable and begins with a wet dream. We see the face of Tom Cruise and he speaks. There is the same dream repeatedly. Joel dreams of a young woman standing naked in the shower asking Joel to join her. Joel Goodsen is supposed to prepare for college entrance exams. Joel is dogged. He wants to please everyone. When a friend advises him in a wonderful scene to say, "What the fuck?" he should think outside the box. He should think differently. Only then could he become successful. He's supposed to say, "What the fuck?" He should defy boundaries. A neoliberal paradigm immediately put into practice. The parents are out of town. Cruise's famous rock and roll scene unfolds. Everyone knows, even if they haven't seen the film. Tom Cruise jumps around in the living room to rock and roll wearing just a shirt. He's practicing. Rock and roll used to be anti-bourgeois. Now, this very rock and roll is being integrated by neoliberal capitalism. But neoliberal capitalism benefits even more. A friend sends prostitute Lana to Joel's house. The usual love story unfolds. Of course, the boy falls in love with the prostitute. Good, fine, but it goes even further. Joel develops a business idea with her as the pimp treats Lana and her colleagues badly. Without further ado, the Goodsen's house becomes a brothel. Joel earns $8,000 one evening since the ladies only get a certain share of his pay. Joel turns into the new, better pimp. Lana works with him. She succeeds in social advancement, also foreseen in neoliberalism. The 1% feminism, while other women must continue working hard for little money. On this brothel night, a Princeton University representative appears and asks Joel for an evaluation interview. What certificates does he have? Has he always behaved properly? What are his special qualifications? And this representative of Princeton University certainly recognizes talent, first and foremost an entrepreneurial one. The representative also stays at the party being enraptured by the events. At the same time, a project is also underway at Joel's school already bearing witness to neoliberalization, referring to the economization of all areas of life. It naturally results in the economization of education. In the school project, entrepreneurs' ideas are selected. The pupils are supposed to sell pretzels and the like. In the end, of course, Joel turns out to be the most successful of all and earns himself a place at Princeton University. Risky investments pay off in the end, the film suggests. Any speculator would say that. Of course, Gordon Gecko wouldn't disagree, but if we ignore the economic component for a moment, we can justifiably assume risky business negotiates self-empowerment. A boy breaks free from the constraints of his family, especially of his strict father. That's an important part of the promise of neoliberalism. You can get more freedom if you really want. Rather than bowing to bureaucratic regulations, he liberates himself sexually. Joel discovers his own path to success, all the ingredients a coming-of-age film requires. One could even easily imagine a text by Michel Foucault where he would praise the self-empowerment as the subject avoids being governed by family, state and church, meaning simply moral authorities. Michel Foucault's anti-Marxism and his reluctance to economic thinking have been excellently elaborated by Wendy Brown in her book Undoing the Demos, Neoliberalism's Stealth Revolution. But let's not make Foucault's mistake, let's consider economics. Risky business concerns prostitution. We should approach it morally, but as a business. In capitalism, pimping is always present in some way. The worker in the factory resembles the prostitute's role. He earns more than he is paid. The surplus product goes to the capitalist or the pimp. The reasoning for this is reminiscent of what a pimp would say. Well, I bear a certain amount of risk, I offer protection, prostitution is, after all, a violent business. At the same time, I thought of the business in the first place. Probably the argument Joel would make in Risky Business, but it represents just one form of unfreedom in the supposed freedom that the film propagates. You could say it's the most obvious form, but there is a much more obvious form of unfreedom the film tries to obscure from us. It reminds one a little of the famous tale by Edgar Allan Poe, The Purloined Letter. One searches for an ominous letter everywhere. Where could it be hidden? In the end, it's just lying in the filing cabinet, the last place where one suspected it. The present lack of freedom is much more obvious than expected, and in Risky Business it affects Joel Goodsen himself. Joel is forced to become an entrepreneur by himself. That is precisely where the apparent freedom lies. Yes, we see pictures of him driving Porsches, having beautiful women, great parties, breaking away from his parents. It all smells like freedom, but it is not. These lifestyle and consumer freedoms are only possible on one condition. Joel must surrender to the bondage of capitalism. Only if he allows himself and everything he holds dear to be subjected to the laws of the market does he enjoy these freedoms as a reward. It almost seems as if Wendy Brown has also seen the film when she writes, "This is the central paradox, perhaps even the central ruse of neoliberal governance. While the neoliberal revolution takes place in the name of freedom, free markets, free countries, free people, it tears apart the foundation of freedom in sovereignty for states and subjects alike." And Brown continues, "Subjects, freed to pursue their own increase in human capital, emancipated from all concerns for and regulations by the social, the political, the communal, or the collective, are harnessed to the norms and imperatives of market behavior and integrated into the purposes of the corporation, industry, region, nation, or post-national identity to which their survival is tied. In a haunting replay of the ironic double freedom that Marx described as the precondition for feudal subjects to be monetized at the dawn of capitalism, a new double freedom is enabled. From the state and all other values of market instrumental rationality to become the dominant rationality that shapes and constrains the life of the neoliberal subject. End of quote. Brown stresses also, unlike the liberal subject, the neoliberal subject is no longer guaranteed any securities. The fall can come at any time. It remains, to use the film's title, always a risky business. In risky business, everything is subjected to economics. Detaching from everything, urging for freedom has a flip side. Regarding the radical individualism, the subject is antisocial in the true sense of the word. No wonder Margaret Thatcher famously claimed there is no society. Joel Goodsen represents only one supposedly strong or rather successful self, while the prostitutes are largely objectified, including Goodsen's girlfriend, who joins in the pimping. A precarious subject continues to have status because she depends on the recognition of the man that is her savior. Structurally, her situation changes little. First, she was with a bad pimp, now she is with an apparently good pimp. But it remains a position of dependency, of course. Joel must be an entrepreneur first and foremost. Only then is he friend, son, student, human being. Capitalism's capacity for integration is enormous, as the film proves. Capitalism lives from crossing borders. Capitalism even integrates the perverse, sometimes apparent and risky business when the university employee appears. First, there is an evaluation of the subject. Certificates are collected, precisely this deviation from the norm. Someone dares to do something completely different, including dirty business. This deviation is ultimately decisive for Joel getting the place at the university. Sexuality plays a big role. We are back to the wet dream at the beginning. It is precisely this sexual transgression of boundaries that is also immanent in neoliberal capitalism. And no film has staged it better than The Wolf of Wall Street, permanently combining the highs of the stock market and sexual excess. For Joel Goodsen, growing up means becoming homo economicus. Risky business is quite amusing, but in principle, it is a deadly sad coming-of-age story, at least if you don't watch but see. It would be nice if you would like to support the film analysis financially. You can do so via my bank account or PayPal. Also, you can find me on Patreon. Thank you very much.